Okay, so the next film in this series to do with food intolerances and healing from that completely is talking about my first proper healing session that I had with Fernando Andes George in Bagnères de Bigorre, which is in the Pyrenees Mountains, so you can kind of locate it. But as I said in the past film, I suggest that you find your own local healer that you've been recommended to by other people, friends that have had great results, and you feel in your intuition, in your gut feeling, if this person can help you. I've been helped in many ways by this particular healer. Now I'm going to describe the first proper healing session that I had with him. So it started with a dialogue, a conversation. In that dialogue, he was, how I could probably describe, getting to know me and knowing what my issues were, where my anxieties lay. You know, he would talk about so many different things. So this guy was from the age of 2 brought up in a temple. When he talks about spirituality, he doesn't relate it just to Buddhism. He makes it relevant to any and no religion at all, so that anyone who might be in front of him can kind of gain and be receptive to what he says. And because of my own understanding and knowledge of the spiritual aspects of life, from the age of 8, I started talking about meditation with people that I would meet. From the age of 14, 15, I was doing regular meditations with listening to things in my ears and lying down in bed and doing that kind of work. I started practicing yoga at the age of 13. And the last 10 years now, I've been a yoga teacher. Eckhart Tolle inspires me, Muji inspires me. So the kinds of conversations that I was having with Fernando was in relation to my own knowledge, and he would relate our conversation to what he felt I knew and where I was at in my life. I think that's obviously key and really important, that it's completely and utterly related to you, and so that he speaks in a way that you completely understand and get what the information and what he's trying to impart to you. So you should feel that from the healer that you find. Sometimes there were things that I didn't understand. We spoke in English and in French, and he has an accent, and there were times when I'd tell him to say it in a different language so that I could try and grasp it a bit better, because I would say that I was in a place of a lot of confusion personally. I was also in a state of quite a lot of fear and anxiety, panic attacks. So I'm talking about March this year, 2021. And I was coming to the end of a relationship, wasn't living with my daughter, still in the stages of divorce, didn't know where I was going to live. You know, my life was topsy-turvy. I had a short-term contract job. I didn't have what I felt like was very much stability whatsoever, and I wasn't coping very well with it. Okay, so having collected my thoughts and wound my memory back, I'm going to talk about a more physical, in contact, using touch, part of the healing session. I remember he came to stand next to me. I was sitting on a low chair in his meditation room, and he moved my body. I think he was holding my shoulders. He was standing next to me, and it was just very, very slow movements. And for me, it kind of felt like a kind of circular movement, which was very delicate and slow and gentle. And it kind of took me off balance, I suppose, because, you know, when you're sitting still, you're talking with someone, you have a kind of verticality and steadiness, like I am now with you. I'm sitting reasonably still. And so that movement made me feel a little bit, maybe a bit woozy, and what's going on, a bit whoa. And then he touched, because he uses Chinese medicine as part of his healing techniques, and he can see meridian lines in the other person's body. I asked him once, how did you learn how to see meridian lines? Because I can feel meridian lines in other people's bodies, but I can't see them. And I know where to go, where the blockages are, and I can feel that in my hands, and I can kind of sense it in my body, but he can see them. And I was like, okay, interesting. How on earth do you do that? I guess that was my own questioning. And he said, well, who teaches you how to see the mountains, for example? And no one teaches you how to see the things around you. You just know how to do it. You're just capable of doing that thing, and he's able to do things that other people maybe aren't capable of doing or aren't capable of seeing, and it's not something that we can necessarily understand. So then he used, I can't remember which point now, in that particular healing session, because I've had a number and they're a bit mixed up in my mind. I can tell you about a specific one he used later, because he used that a number of times, and I can, now that I have a book on acupuncture and traditional and modern research to do with acupuncture points, I can tell you more about that in future films. And then he also sat opposite me on a chair, and he took my hands and just placed his hands over mine, and then he also placed his hands on my knees and didn't do anything specific, or that I could tell. I know that he was doing something, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what he was doing. I know now from other conversations that I've had with him that he can, from a distance, and when you're in front of him, he can energetically change what's going on with your organs in your body. Yeah, the flow with all of that inside of you. I think I will stop there because it's quite a long film, and I will talk about how these healing sessions moved into a kind of distance healing that I felt happening when I was away from him and I was just living my life, which is also interesting because it was helping me see my life in different ways, and how that progressed over time and how that changed me into now a much more contented, settled, stable, calm human being. So I'll talk about that next. Bye.